Number 10. Polka Dot Zebra. One of the most breathtaking and rare animals in the world was spotted recently in Kenya at the Masai Mara National Reserve. A zebra with spots instead of stripes. This marks the first time that a zebra with this kind of unusual pattern has ever been photographed at this nature reserve. It was a baby zebra and the youngster was completely black with little white polka dots all over its body. Apparently, the zebra has a pigment disorder, although at first glance it looks like it could be a completely different species. The zebra was named Tira, and it has become famous not only at the nature reserve but all over the world. The term for its pigment disorder is being dubbed pseudomelanism, referring to its stripe pattern abnormality. Oddly enough, if you were to shave a normal zebra, it would be completely black. However, we won't know what Tira the spotted zebra looks like as an adult for a few more years until she fully matures. Number 9. The Bornean Orangutan. There's no orangutan on Earth as difficult to spot as the red-orange Bornean orangutan, and that's because the species is unfortunately critically endangered. According to the World Wildlife Foundation, its population has declined by over 50% throughout the past 60 years. The habitat of the Bornean orangutan has also been reduced by 55% in the last 20 years, and they are barely hanging on. They used to be prevalent throughout Indonesia, but today you would have a very hard time spotting one. The good news is that there are 3 subspecies found on different parts of the island of Borneo. Each type of orangutan has a short beard, light orange hair, and can grow to be around 4.6 feet tall and 220 pounds. There's the northwest Bornean orangutan, with only about 1,500 left in the wild. Then there's the northeast Bornean orangutan, which is the smallest of them all. And finally, the central Bornean orangutan is the most prevalent right now, with at least 35,000 individuals still alive. If you're wondering why Bornean orangutans are so important, other than the fact that they are gorgeous animals who deserve to be alive, they play a very important role in the ecosystem. One of the main things that orangutans do is disperse seeds to keep the forest healthy. There have been at least 500 different plant species recorded in their diet, meaning they help to disperse all 500 of these plants, helping the forest to grow. Hey, real quick, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Give this video a like and hit that subscribe button for more videos like these. Number 8. Eel-Like Sea Monster. A horrifying monster from the deep sea recently terrified the internet. No one had ever seen it before. It made its alien appearance in 2016 in a lake south of China. To this day, no one is entirely sure what it is or where it came from. The creature was completely white, shaped a lot like an eel, had fins, but mysteriously no eyes. It also had incredibly sharp teeth in its mouth, which kind of made it look like the offspring of an infernal demon. But however terrifying this eel-like sea monster was, it had to be a real animal, right? It turned out that someone online recognized it as a rough-head grenadier, an extremely elusive fish that lives in the North Atlantic Ocean at ridiculous depths of up to 6,500 feet. But even though someone recognized it, they may have been wrong. After all, how could it possibly have gotten from the Atlantic Ocean into a lake south of China? It simply doesn't make sense. For now, it's still just a sea monster, and hopefully it was the only one of its kind. Number 7. Northern Bald Ibis. The Northern Bald Ibis is one of the strangest animals you have ever seen. Or not seen. It has a very distinctive bright red face and narrow feathers that project from the rear of its head and neck that form a roughed up sort of look. It kind of resembles a vulture that's having a bad hair day. This bird is extremely rare, despite the fact that their family dates back over 60 million years. Fossil records have shown that it shares its genus with just one other species, and that both of them have been evolving since the time of the dinosaurs. Of course, that was until humans showed up. Over just a few decades, the population of these birds has dramatically dropped. There was a population crash in the 1950s, conservation efforts were initiated in the 70s, but today there are only between 200 and 250 of them left on the planet. They live in 2 concentrated areas in Morocco, and a few lingering populations in Syria. But even if these birds were in abundance, they would still be very rare to spot. They typically only breed in dry areas, such as cliffs and escarpments in dry and arid regions. They even keep their nests out of sight near river and sea cliffs. And when it's time to eat, ibises usually hunt in small groups on dry and rocky slopes, far away from civilization. Number 6. Rare white snake. Most people know that there's an abundance of snakes slithering around Australia. The continent is home to some of the deadliest snakes in the world, and you generally don't have to look very hard to find them. But in the Northern Territory, an extremely rare snake was discovered that has shocked wildlife experts all over the world. This incredibly unique snake apparently has a rare genetic mutation that has caused it to be completely white, but it's not an albino. According to the Territory Wildlife Park, the snake was found in the wild by a local resident who rescued it from a dog attack. He then handed it over to the park, where they recognised it immediately as a slaty grey snake, which are usually brown despite its name. These types of snakes are native to Australia, non-venomous, and actually fairly common. But it's definitely not common for one of them to turn up completely pale. So, maybe it's an albino? Nope, it's not an albino because it doesn't have the same exact features like red or pink eyes. This particular snake had jet black eyes and was born with an incredibly rare genetic mutation. In the wild, this type of coloration is pretty unfortunate, as predators are very easily able to spot it. It has no chance of blending in. But luckily, the park adopted the snake and it will now live a long and healthy life. Number 5. Greater Bamboo Lemur. It's also the biggest and one of the rarest. I was leaping along. Leap, leap, leap. If you get that reference, you're awesome! The Greater Bamboo Lemur is arguably the coolest lemur in the world, and also the most elusive. First discovered in 1870, researchers thought these lemurs went extinct until they were rediscovered in 1972. The world had no idea that an unknown population of them were hiding out in a remote region of Madagascar. But then again, that shouldn't be that surprising considering much of Madagascar is either unexplored or seriously underexplored because of harsh terrain and lack of infrastructure. And in case you didn't know, Madagascar is the only place on Earth where lemurs live. The Greater Bamboo Lemur used to be widespread across the entire island, but today they have a very limited distribution. As of now, there are only 12 places on the island where these rare lemurs live, meaning they are almost never spotted by humans. The most recent estimations place their population at roughly 100 to 160. What's even more is that there are only about 20 individuals currently in captivity. As with many other species, this lemur is unable to adapt to its quickly changing habitat. If you're lucky enough to spot one of these rare bamboo-eating mammals, you can recognise them by their bright eyes, cute little fingers, fuzzy brown fur, and distinctive white tufted ears. Number 4. The Pika. I know we all wish Pokemon were real. This next animal might be the closest we get. The Pika looks exactly like a very popular Pokemon, and may even have been the inspiration for the legendary Pikachu. The American Pika is tiny and cuddly, also one of the toughest animals in North America. It's one of the few mammals that is able to survive its entire life living in alpine terrain far above the tree line. This little critter is short with round ears. It doesn't have a tail that looks like a lightning bolt, but it is a dark yellow colour with a light coat of fur. And in case you were wondering, it doesn't actually make a Pika Pika noises like the cartoon Pikachu either. But even for such a small and rarely seen animal, the Pika has a pretty fascinating story. According to the National Wildlife Federation, the American Pika likely evolved from its ancestors in Siberia after they crossed the land bridge between Asia and Alaska, just like the Native American ancestors. Today, they primarily live in the Rocky Mountains, found throughout many of the northern United States and western Canada. They eat grass and weeds, and they even prepare their food by collecting wildflowers and grasses and laying them out in the sun so they don't get moldy. The Pika will then store its dried out food in its den so it can eat them during the winter. Number 3. Tooth-billed Pigeon. Anyone who lives near the ocean would never expect any kind of pigeon to be a rarely seen animal. These birds are often considered to be annoying flying rats, and at any harbour anywhere in the world they are in abundance. But there is one species of pigeon known as the tooth-billed pigeon that is surprisingly rare. The tooth-billed pigeon primarily eats fruits. It's only found in the forests of Samoa. It has been nicknamed the Little Dodo because of its dangerous proximity to extinction. All pigeons come from the Columbidae family, with over 310 species of pigeon and dove. The tooth-billed pigeon, however, is the only member of its genus that is still living. This is because much of its territory has been destroyed to make room for agriculture. Plus, the forests where they live have been hugely devastated by cyclones and invasive trees planted by humans. Hunting these pigeons is now completely prohibited, since annual hunts have caused their population to drop below 250. There are so few of these pigeons left that they go for years and years without being seen. One of the last sightings of a tooth-billed pigeon was in 2013 during nature surveys. This is an extremely secretive type of pigeon, and scientists believe there are still a few undiscovered pockets of them left, and they need to be aggressively protected before they are gone forever. Number 2. Ploughshare Tortoise. The Ploughshare Tortoise has been around for millions of years, but it is rarely ever seen. It was first discovered by humans when they settled on Madagascar over 2,000 years ago. This turtle species survived pirates, predators, and they recently endured 2 brutal cyclones that destroyed much of their ecosystem. They have even survived the global pet trade. However, according to National Geographic, they are on the countdown to extinction. The Ploughshare Tortoise has gone from a stable part of the ecosystem to an animal that no one sees anymore. But what are some facts about the now rare Ploughshare Tortoise? It is the largest tortoise in Madagascar. There are now less than 100 mature adults still living in the wild, and they have a brilliant golden shell that makes them truly stand out among other tortoises. Unfortunately, it's their golden shell that has gotten them into so much trouble. Their shell is highly valued by private collectors, and this has caused a huge surge in poaching in just the last few years, primarily from collectors in Southeast Asia and China who are willing to pay top dollar even if it means the Ploughshare Tortoise is going extinct. Number 1. Cuban Snails. When it comes to unique animals that have been rarely seen in the wild, snails are probably not the first animal you would think about. But there are 6 special breeds of snails that are just as rare as some of the other more elusive animals on Earth, and they are known as Cuban snail or Polymita picta. These tiny gastropods look like they've been painted with psychedelic colours, and they are 100% unique to Cuba. In fact, these snails look more like decorations you'd find at a tourist gift shop than real creatures. But they are. These beautiful painted Cuban snails are found specifically in the eastern part of the country, one of the most biologically diverse places in the world. What makes them even more special is that the species has a limitless variety of colours and markings. Some scientists believe that their colour variations are defence mechanisms used to confuse predators. If all the snails look different, it's harder for predators to concentrate. It's easier to get lost staring at these marvels of nature. It's like you're gazing into a spiralling staircase that goes on forever. This extraordinary snail has an ability to secrete a mucus seal around its shell opening, which allows it to go dormant for extremely long periods of time without ever drying. This makes them super hardy and able to survive long trips out at sea while attached to vegetation, and also why they are rarely seen. Number 10. The Black Panther. There's probably no completely black animal more popular than the Black Panther, and a lot of that might have something to do with the Marvel superhero. But did you know that the Black Panther is actually a reference to any melanistic leopard or jaguar? The most common black panther is the elusive African black leopard, which is mainly found in Kenya. But don't expect to see one of these exotic cats on your next safari. Almost no other animal on Earth is shrouded in more mystery than the black leopard. Almost nobody has seen one in the wild, and very few have ever actually been documented. Leopards themselves are already considered critically endangered according to the International Union for Conservation of Nature, and the completely black leopard is even more rare. The actual population of the black leopard is unknown, but it's safe to say that there are only a handful of them still roaming wild Africa. The most recent sighting was in 2019 by a conservation scientist from San Diego Zoo who managed to photograph one after setting up remote cameras in the deep Kenyan wilderness. Number 9. The Black Wolf. Imagine being a scientist walking through a dark, dense forest alone, searching for a majestic creature, an animal that symbolises strength, but also one that must be respected and sometimes feared. You hear a twig snap and you freeze. In the distance is a powerful black wolf, illuminated by the moon. Black wolves for some people are the stuff of nightmares. You typically only see a black wolf in some kind of horrifying fairy tale or maybe in a fantasy movie. And in the movies, they're usually depicted as hungry, growling beasts, so of course people are afraid of them. And honestly, you probably should be. Black wolves are indeed real. Real, but extremely rare. Almost no wolves will have black hair in the wild. The only black wolves ever documented to be completely black were found in North America, even though different species of wolves are found all over the globe. This suggests that there is a special gene variant that cropped up somewhere in the history of the North American continent, which ultimately caused some wolves to be born with an extremely rare black coat of hair. Researchers believe that somewhere along the line, wolves bred with domestic dogs, and that's where they get their dark coats. Scientists believe having a completely black coat of hair is actually beneficial to wolves living in a forest environment. Makes sense. It likely provides a better advantage for survival to forest wolves, which means that in the future we may see more black wolves being born, since wolves that are completely black have a better chance of surviving and breeding. But this probably won't happen for a few thousand years, so don't be surprised if you never spot a black wolf in your lifetime. Hey, real quick, if you're new here to Epic Wildlife, welcome to the channel. Give the video a like and hit that subscribe button for more videos like these. Number 8. Melanistic Whitetail Deer. Perhaps one of the most shocking animals that you wouldn't expect to be completely black is the whitetail deer. This is surprising because white-tailed deer are obviously supposed to be pale, though they are usually a pale brown, not a pale white. There have been examples of hunters in Texas who have stumbled upon white-tailed deer that are completely black. They look like something straight out of Harry Potter. The cause of this is melanism, a rare genetic mutation that basically causes the exact opposite of albinism. Instead of being born without any pigmentation, these deer have been born with an excess of melanin, producing unusually dark skin cells. The result is hair, eyes and skin all being extremely dark. But whereas albino deer don't live very long in the wild because they are easy to spot by predators, melanism helps them to blend in with their surroundings. For this reason, it's believed that melanistic white-tailed deer are more likely to survive in the wild. As for just how rare these animals are, the chance of spotting a completely black deer is somewhere around 1 in 6 million. In comparison, the chance of spotting an albino deer is roughly 1 in 100,000. Number 7. Black zebra. One of the oldest questions in human society is whether zebras are white with black stripes or black with white stripes. What do you think? It's about as philosophical of a question as the chicken or the egg, but it's a little more complicated than that. According to the San Diego Zoo, zebras actually have black skin underneath their hair. Technically, a zebra is completely black. It's just they have different coats of hair. Most zebras have white coats of hair, then brown or black stripes of hair. But then other zebras are born with special genetic variations that make all of their hair black and give them white stripes. The issue here is that the difference is extremely hard to notice, unless you're a professional zebra watcher. But to answer the original question, zebras are in fact black. Most scientists agree that even the default colour of a zebra's hair is black. They just so happen to grow stripes of white hair. This means that zebras are black with white stripes. And now that you know, be sure to sneak it into your next conversation somewhere so people think you're smart. Number 6. Black seal. If you want to see the most adorable animal in the world, look no further than the black seal. There's nothing quite as cute as a chubby black seal with big black eyes looking like it needs a hug. However, it's extremely rare to see a completely black seal. To give you an example of just how rare this condition is, at the Donna Nook National Nature Reserve in the United Kingdom, around 1,700 pups are born each breeding season. Just recently, a single black seal was born. That's how rare this is. The birth of the adorable black seal was so rare that officials at the nature reserve couldn't explain how it happened. Both the pup's parents were grey, and yet the baby came out completely black. Some officials even claimed that in all their years of working with seals, they had never seen a black one before. It was likely caused by some kind of mutation, but it's such a rare event that very little studying has been done about it. For now, all we can do is appreciate the miracle of the cute black seal. Number 5. Melanistic Squirrels. Black squirrels are far less demonic than albino squirrels. If you've ever seen a picture of an albino squirrel, it's probably made your hair stand up. But black squirrels are much less threatening to look at. That said, black squirrels are equally as rare. Most black squirrels are genetic mutations of either the eastern grey squirrel or the fox squirrel. It's a result of an abnormal pigment gene that causes the hair, eyes and all other aspects to be completely black. These squirrels are typically found in North America, throughout the US and Canada. However, researchers determined that they can be spotted most frequently near the Great Lakes Basin. And while you might see a melanistic black squirrel in the wild, it's been estimated that out of all the slightly black squirrels out there, only 9% of them are 100% jet black. There are some pros and cons for the black squirrels. They thrive in the northeast because they can handle colder temperatures better than the heat due to their black fur that attracts the sun. They stay a little more toasty in comparison to their grey squirrel cousins. Only about 1 in 10,000 squirrels are completely black. Number 4. Mutant black penguin. Get ready for one of the rarest cases of an animal being completely black ever recorded in human history. A king penguin has been spotted and described by experts as a 1 in a zillion mutation. Those are some pretty outrageous odds. Instead of sporting the black and white tuxedo look, this king penguin looks majestic all in black. The black king penguin stands out significantly from the rest of the penguins in its colony. It was spotted only once by wildlife researchers visiting South Georgia, which is a small region about 860 miles from the Falklands in the Atlantic. A researcher from the University of Toronto described the photographs of the black penguin as astonishing. The researcher claims that the penguin must have lost control of its pigmentation due to some form of serious mutation. But what's the most remarkable thing about this story are the photographs captured of the black penguin taking a solitary walk or waddle across the beach, looking like the loneliest black sheep on earth. Luckily, the penguin appeared to be showing the same types of behaviour as the other penguins, and hopefully it has not been ostracised since it was spotted. According to a report from the Daily Mail, about 1 in every 250,000 penguins shows some evidence of excess melanism, but this is the only penguin ever spotted that has been completely black. Number 3. The Ayam Cemani chicken. Have you ever heard of an animal having all black organs before? The Ayam Cemani chicken is probably the most popular and most expensive melanistic animal in the world. This chicken has a black heart, a black beak, black bones, and a completely black exterior from its toes to the tip of its tail. The only part of this chicken that isn't black is its blood and eggs. The Ayam Cemani has been described as the Lamborghini of poultry, the goth chicken, and even the Sith Lord bird. But why is it so popular? To find out the answer, we have to look to Indonesia, where the famous black chicken comes from. According to National Geographic, it is the most deeply pigmented creature found anywhere in nature. And because of this, it has become something of an ornamental animal in Indonesia and other Asian countries. People in the United States may not have heard of them, since fears over avian flu have banned almost all chicken imports from the country of Indonesia. But in the Southeast Asian country, a single Cemani chicken could go anywhere from a few $100s to at least $2,000. Another reason the black chicken is so popular in Indonesia is because the culture sometimes views them as magical creatures with healing powers. Almost no one eats the Cemani chicken, and many people are only interested in their allegedly magical blood, which is believed to bring wealth and good luck. They are the most unique chickens on the planet. Number 2. Black Flamingo. In the country of Cyprus, an ultra-rare black flamingo has been spotted, and experts believe it may be the only one on Earth. The black colouring is likely due to melanism, but quite frankly it's a little shocking. Out of all the animals you never expected to be completely black, the flamingo is number 1. Flamingos are supposed to be vibrantly bright pink birds, but this dark flamingo has flipped the world on its head. There was only one other instance of a black flamingo being sighted, and that happened in Israel in 2013. However, experts are saying that because flamingos are known to migrate, the black flamingo spotted in Cyprus just a few years later could be the same one. The chances of a flamingo being completely black is just 1 in several million. This could possibly be the only one of its kind. Number 1. Rare black fox. As usual, I have saved the most gorgeous animal for last. The black fox is extremely rare and beyond captivating. You're used to seeing red foxes, or maybe even Arctic ones, but a completely black one? The small creature with its dark black fur and bright orange eyes is like something that would only exist in a fairy tale. But black foxes are indeed real. Of course, your chances of seeing one are slim to none, but they do exist. However, the truth of the black fox may surprise you. It's actually known as a silver fox or a vixen, which itself is a melanistic form of an ordinary red fox that has been bred through domestication processes since the 1500s. Silver foxes have been bred together over the years to make sure that every litter has a black colour. Nonetheless, silver foxes are usually found to be silver and black. To spot a fully black silver fox is incredibly rare, even after 500 years of selective breeding. It's true that 1 in 5 foxes in the US are black, but a much smaller number is pure black, and that's really where the difference is. Number 10. Asian water buffalo. The Asian water buffalo is one of the biggest animals in the world, and they just so happen to have the biggest horns on average of any animal. This is according to the Guinness World Records, who claim the Asian water buffalo from India, Nepal, Thailand and Bhutan has horns on average stretching 3 feet and 3 inches. However, Guinness World Records claims that there was a bull shot in the year 1955 which had horns that measured 13 feet and 10 inches from one tip to the other. That's a monstrous set of horns. As for the Asian water buffalo itself, it spends most of its day wallowing in the mud, especially in the summer seasons. In fact, it uses its massive horns to shovel mud onto itself, kind of like how an elephant uses its trunk to give itself a bath. If there is no mud around, you won't find an Asian water buffalo. What's really interesting about these animals is that they used to migrate seasonally around 124 miles. However, none of the remaining populations undertakes such a dramatic migration anymore. Because of lack of habitat, most water buffalo hang around in the same areas all year long, basking in mud or hiding in tall grass. Number 9. Markhor. The markhor is one of the coolest goats you've never heard of. This unique species is the largest type of wild goat in the world, with massive spiral horns that can grow upwards of 5 feet long. If you've ever seen a goat with impressive horns, you've probably seen a markhor. They typically live in herds of between 30 and 100 females, with lone males coming to hang out during the fall mating season with hopes of getting lucky. What's truly interesting about these goats is that their name is a Persian word that means snake killer. Many historians believe this title likely refers to either how their spiral horns kind of look like ugly snakes, or how the giant goat kills snakes really easily by crushing them with its giant hooves. But what do these goats use their huge horns for? Well, they basically use them like we use our arms. They use their horns for digging in the soil, for ripping bark off trees, for fighting with other goats, and of course for attracting lady goats. Lady Markhor goats typically mate with whichever goat has the biggest horns. Plus, their horns help work like an integrated radiator, since they are actually an extension of skin and there are blood vessels inside of the horns. The horns help to cool the goat when the weather is too hot. Number 8. Nubian Ibex. Out of all the animals on this list, the Nubian Ibex is undoubtedly my favourite. That's because of its incredible curved horns that look like they belong on the head of a demon, not on the head of an animal here on Earth. But besides just having the most amazing horns ever, which curve into a semicircle towards the beast's back, the Nubian Ibex also has some other very cool characteristics. Males grow long dark beards, which they use to mark their scent and to excite females during mating season. They literally use their little tufts of hair that grow on their chins to try and pick up chicks. The Nubian Ibex is also the only type of ibex that lives in a desert setting. These animals live in the northeastern part of Africa and throughout Saudi Arabia. They spend almost all of their lives hanging out on the side of mountains, moving up and down sheer cliffs like four-legged cat burglars. This is actually a defense mechanism, since most large predators are unable to climb that type of rock face that the ibex can. And as for just how big their demon horns can grow, a typical male Nubian ibex can grow horns of up to 4 feet according to the San Diego Zoo. However, the ibex itself is fairly small. They are a light sandy colour, and believe it or not, their only 3 predators are bearded vultures, eagles and leopards. However, these predators usually only pick on the smallest of the bunch, seeing as how trying to attack an adult Nubian ibex with horns like the devil would almost certainly prove fatal to the attacker. Number 7. Blackbuck. The blackbuck comes from the family of antelopes, meaning it's related to things like gerenooks and gazelles. The most striking feature of the blackbuck is most certainly its spiraling horns, which stick straight up out of the adult male's skull. The longest horns ever seen on a blackbuck are estimated to have been just over 2 feet long. Like many other animals that have horns, only the males possess these immense weapons. The males are also highly territorial. They mark their territory by basically pooping on bushes to tell other blackbuck males to stay away. The territory can be as small as 20 acres, and within that small territory, a single blackbuck will reproduce with all the females to make as many young as possible. Another interesting fact is that the blackbuck is generally regarded to be as fast as any antelope. They also have incredible eyesight that helps them to avoid predators such as cheetahs. These animals live primarily in India, where their population has dropped from around 80,000 in 1947 to 25,000 today in specialised reserves. Some of their biggest threats are stray dogs, construction work and speeding cars. Number 6. Spiral horned antelope. Spiral horned antelope are pretty cool. They're not quite as impressive as some other horned animals, but they're definitely bigger than most goats and have some pretty unique horns. What's truly fascinating about this animal's horns is that they are shaped like corkscrews. Plus, these antelope are massive, weighing up to 2,000 pounds. Their horns can grow to be roughly 3 feet in length, but the even cooler part is how they grow in a spiral formation. According to the San Diego Zoo, the spiral shape is because of something known as growth pulse. The horn material will grow quicker and thinner during certain times of the year, and the horn will grow slower and thicker during these times. It's known as a growth pulse, and it causes the horn to twist over itself as it grows. Most spiral-horned antelope live for up to 20 years, though there are a few different species. There's the greater kudu and lesser kudu, and the lesser-known eland species. But each type of spiral-horned antelope still comes packing a big, twisting hood ornament right on its forehead. Besides just having cool horns, these antelope can survive for up to a month without a single drink of water, and a young, common eland antelope can jump over 10 feet in the air from a standing position. We really don't give creatures like this enough credit. Antelope are just incredible. Number 5. Jackson's Chameleon. Let's take a break from bigger animals and check out the coolest reptile with the coolest horns. It's known as the Jackson's Chameleon, and it's a small animal less than 12 inches in length with 3 horns on it like a triceratops. It lives in the forests and mountains of Africa. It's not even a little bit endangered, and it's extremely easy to differentiate from a male from a female. This is because only the males have horns. They have 3 horns sticking straight out of their face, looking kind of like wrinkly pink fingers. The Jackson's chameleon is sometimes known as the three-horned chameleon or the mini triceratops. But what on earth does such a small lizard need such big horns for? And why does it have 3 of them? Like most horns in the animal kingdom, they're used for fighting and defending territory. Just because the chameleon's only 12 inches long doesn't mean it's not allowed to have a territory of its own to protect. 2 male chameleons will lock horns together in a brutal battle while they try to push the other chameleon from a tree branch. They may not have very large territories, but they will defend them to death. As you would expect from a chameleon, they spend their lives living in the branches. They are extremely colourful, they lick leaves to get their daily supply of water, and they give birth to live young. Most chameleons lay eggs, but not this one. The mother will carry the young inside her body, then abandon them immediately after birth. The young chameleons start hunting tiny insects basically the minute they are born into the world, with no help from the mother. Number 4. Texas Longhorn Bull. They say everything is bigger in Texas, and when it comes to horns, this statement is 100% true. Texas Longhorn Bull has recently stolen the title for having the longest horns on a living bull. According to the official report from Guinness World Records, the bull's name is Cowboy Tough Chex, and his long horns measure an incredible 8.6 feet in length. He has some very handsome horns. In fact, because of his massive horns, he is now estimated to be worth $500,000. But even though he's a Texas Longhorn, Cowboy Tough Chex was not born in the state. He was actually bred and raised in Oklahoma, then later purchased and transported to the Fayetteville in 2017. However, transporting the animal proved to be difficult because of how big his horns were. Transport required a massive cattle trailer and a whole lot of patience. In the bull world, Cowboy Tough Chex is basically Brad Pitt. The list of those seeking a little bit of DNA for their own breeding purposes is a mile long. He is making his new owners a whole lot of money. Ranchers all over the world are wanting a miniature Cowboy Tough Chex for themselves. In fact, this bull is so popular that the ranch where he lives has started giving tours for curious visitors to see the biggest horns in the world for themselves. If you're wondering how exactly the value of a Texas Longhorn bull is determined, it's all about horn length. The horn is measured from tip to tip, the total length of the horn, and the complete composite of the horn. These 3 variables add up to determine what any particular bull is worth. Number 3. Addax. An addax is a type of African antelope adapted for life in the brutal desert. They used to be found all throughout the Sahara Desert, but there are not very many of them left today because of poaching and the invention of the automobile. But still, some addax can be found in the most rural regions, and they have some stunning horns. Their horns can grow to be just shy of 4 feet long, and in this case, males and females each grow horns. What's even more shocking is that according to Britannica, females can grow horns just as long as the males. However, females have smaller bodies and weigh less, and their horns are typically thinner. Still, this is one of those rare instances in nature where the males and females of the species both grow giant horns out of their heads. Unlike other type of antelope, the addax is not very fast. This animal has short legs, which give it massive endurance but a very low speed. They live in the deepest parts of the desert, surviving on nothing but desert grass and small shrubs. Number 2. Scimitar Oryx. The scimitar horned oryx is yet another type of antelope. If you thought there was only one type of antelope, you were sorely mistaken. The oryx is dramatically different from the addax like we just talked about. It has horns shaped like 2 twin scimitars, and some people believe it was the oryx that originally started the legend of the unicorn. They are currently extinct in the wild, but they once roamed the deserts of Africa from Morocco to Egypt. The only scimitar horned oryx around today are in captivity. The conservation scientists are hopeful they will be able to reintroduce these beautiful antelope back into the wild, with programs starting in Tunisia, Chad and Niger. Number 1. Rhino Horn. Just like how there are many different types of antelope, there are also many different types of rhinoceros, and they all have very big horns. Even the smallest of the rhino species, the Sumatran rhinoceros, has a small, stubby horn on its nose. The Sumatran rhinoceros is also one of the most elusive of the rhino species, with estimates saying there are only about 60 of them left living in Indonesia. But we're here to talk about horns, and the most impressive horned rhinoceros is definitely the white rhino, which comes complete with 2 giant horns on its snout. It has a front horn, which can grow to be almost 5 feet in length, and it has a secondary horn above that which is significantly smaller. As of 2013, it just so happens that the white rhinoceros, which is grey by the way and not white at all, is the most abundant rhino subspecies on our planet, with an estimated 20,400 southern white rhinos left. Unfortunately, the northern white rhinos are basically extinct, with only 2 captive females left on Earth, and a very low chance that one of them will give birth to a baby. But when it comes to talking about rhino horn, we can't omit the weird ways in which it has been used over the years. There are countless stories about poachers stealing rhino horn to be sold on the black market, not only for people to create expensive jewelry and ornaments, but also to be used in some seriously strange medicinal practices. Vietnam is often considered to be the biggest market for rhino horn, but China is up there as well. And supposedly, there are still people out there today who believe rhino horn can be used as an aphrodisiac to help a guy out in the bedroom. But this is of course ridiculous, and let me tell you why. Rhino horns are built primarily out of keratin, which is the same kind of protein found in your fingernails and in your hair. Using rhino horn as an aphrodisiac is like grinding up your fingernail shavings and turning them into a potion. Which horned animal is your favourite? Let me know your thoughts in the comments and be sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and come back soon for another amazing animal video.